Hello, everybody. I feel like we've got a special guest speaker today because my sis is not feeling super well. So hang tight with me while she jumps on here, hoping, and you'll see who it is. Hi, Linda. Welcome. Welcome, guys. Okay. Hang tight. Hi, guys. Welcome. There we go. I'm going to add. Oh, for some reason it won't let me add you, Tori. You're the only one watching. Can you invite yourself, Tori, to watch? You're the only one. Hi, guys, that I cannot invite on for some reason. It won't let me add you. Are you watching from your computer or your phone? Oh. Okay, there we go. Miss Tori, are you on your phone? Thanks for hanging with me, guys. Hi, Dan. Hi, Arlene. Tori says, just a sec. Thanks for hanging on, guys. Technical difficulties as always, of course. Actually, we've been doing really well and super smooth. Well, while we're waiting for Tori, oh, she's coming on. Approve. There we go. Maybe. Oh, yay.
So sorry.
Hi.
Figuring it out as we go.
Is it echoing? It's echoing for me. Do you have your earbuds in?
Sorry, guys.
Tori, I told you this. Okay, while Tori is getting her earbuds so that it doesn't echo, today, you guys, we're going to be talking about fear. She can't hear Tori. Okay, so hopefully we'll get her to work out. I knew we should have done a trial run, but we were rushing around, of course. So you guys, if you've ever watched our show before, or whatever this is, Facebook Live, it's usually me and my sister, and it's called What Do We Know with Wen and Wit? But today it's Wen and Tori, because my sister's not feeling so great. But what we do here is our goal is to bring perspective, inspiration, and education about some hot topics and try to meet somewhere in the middle. You know the drill. As you're coming on here, let us know where you're coming from, where you're watching from. If you're catching the replay, type in replay so that we know after the fact that you're watching it. We encourage comments. We love the comment game. And we want to shout you out. So tell me where you're coming from, how the weather is for you. It's beautiful here in Tennessee. And because we're talking about fear, I'm going to get you guys going on your audience participation question. What is your biggest fear? While we're waiting on Tori to get her earbuds and chime on in with us. What is your biggest fear? Type it in the comments. My biggest fear, as I have some silly ones and I have some serious ones. So you guys can talk about whichever you so feel. Hi from Bakersfield. Welcome. Hey, John. How are you? So my fears are actually... you're not sure it will let you join. Oh, it's going to let you join. Here we go. Approve. Here she comes again. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Okay.
There she is. Hello.
Am I echoing?
No, we have to have earbuds.
Oh my gosh.
When you do a double
Okay.
whammy.
Who would have known?
they couldn't hear you at all, turns out.
Well, that can't be good. I need to be heard.
That's not going to work. So, yay, this is Tori. Tori, tell us who you are. What's your story?
Hey guys. So, here I am, actually in the other room at Wendy's house. But we just decided that it worked out better this way, that we were gonna, go side by side. And I am living here for the summer because we just bought a house about 30 minutes away from Wendy, but it's not ready for us to move in. So we have invaded the farm. Me and my husband and my 2 little kiddos. We're creating a whole commune of existence here on the Wendy Cunningham
Super
farm
exciting.
for the months of June and July. So we're so grateful to be out here, and I'm stoked to be filling in for Whit. We're talking about a really fun training or fun topic, fear. So fun. So fun.
Totally. I know, right? I actually talk about you. I reference things that you've told me on this video series often because you always have such wise words. And I'm like, my friend Tori says blah, blah, blah. So if you've ever watched the show, this is my friend Tori. So you get to just hear it from the horse's mouth this time around, which would be awesome. So I was just kind of diving into, I'm encouraging y'all to tell us your biggest fears in the comments while we're chatting. And I was just going to share that my biggest fears, number 1, pooping my pants in public.
That's a good one.
I don't know why that's like my biggest fear, but it's something that I think of often. And like, I'm very fearful of having that happen in some capacity. So that's a big one. Also, I'm afraid of water, which is kind of, I just don't like to get in the water. And I'm very afraid of zombies, even though they're not real yet. I do have a very real fear. When I was pregnant, all 3 times I would, every single week of my pregnancy. Oh no, it's repeating. Are you watching on the computer?
No, we're good. Glitch.
It's okay. I would have a dream about zombies every pregnancy, all the time.
Oh
Isn't that so weird? Every week.
Zombies.
Isn't that just the weirdest? What are your silly things you're afraid of?
Well, I don't know if I have very many silly things that I'm afraid of. I definitely don't like snakes and spiders, but I feel like that's a given. Any person that likes snakes and spiders, I'm just not really sure that I would be friends with that person. Like, those are the creatures that you want to avoid, But
So true.
I also like bigger fears that I guess I think about on a daily basis that at least control my actions and change the way that I think and behave, and sometimes are totally irrational, is like losing my kids. I have a dream, an ongoing dream of my kids getting run over by a car, like me witnessing it. And that's one of those things that I'm like, I'll be extra out of control anxious if we're out by in the front yard of my old house and whatever. To go to an even deeper level, however, I think one of my bigger fears is leading and living a life that doesn't make an impact in the world around me. That's something that'll keep me up at night. Sure. Am I living up to my greatest potential? Am I missing out? A fear of missing out, a fear of my actions and my work not holding any greater worth, I guess, would be some of my bigger fears, for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about this earlier in the kitchen because we live together now. And one of my bigger, I guess, the themes behind my bigger fears, same thing, like, am I going to matter? But that kind of goes back to am I enough? Am I going to be able to make enough money? Am I going to be able to do enough for my business partners? Am I going to be enough for my children?
Right.
Like this fear of, I don't know, I guess you could say it another way of letting people down, like letting my family down and just carrying that burden and being fearful of that. And that can get in your head in a big way, right? So one of the things we wanted to tackle today was how do we let fear control us? Because we all have
Mm-hmm.
fears, but there's fears that, like, I mean, in a real way, I don't get in the water because of my fear of water. I don't even get in pools,
Right.
because I'm afraid of whatever I'm afraid of in the water. So it does limit me in, in a lot of ways. And I talked about before, with my sister, that being afraid of the ocean, I went paddleboarding in Hawaii once, like when I was pregnant, completely faced my fears to do it. Like it was not what I wanted to do at all. I don't even find those things enjoyable because I'm so
Yeah.
fearful. But this one instance where I went out paddleboarding on the water in the ocean, about 12 weeks pregnant with Merritt, I was surrounded by, just maybe 100 yards off the shore, a pod of about 70
Oh my
dolphins. And it was
gosh.
one of the top 5 most amazing moments of my life. I could touch them in the water. They were jumping and spinning and doing it was like this like God wink of, if you face your fears,
Yes.
if you do the things you feel that you can't do, I will bless you in that. I'll encourage you in that.
Right.
And so um, that was kind of a funny one. But how do we let fear control us? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean,
What are some
even
ways?
in say that if for me in my fear of worthless working, am I missing out on something better? Is what I'm doing what I'm really supposed to do? Is the work that I'm currently doing, am I doing it wrong? I feel like that fear specifically can ground me in a place where I stop working at all because I'm so fearful of doing work that
Mm-hmm.
is worthless. Um, am I doing the right thing? And I talk to people all the time where they're worried about this, and there's a greater fear of a lack of security or a lack of purpose, and it kind of keeps them in this place where they never actually try and do anything, just because they're afraid of either doing it wrong, they're afraid of doing it and succeeding, they're afraid of doing it and failing. It's like no matter what angle you take on the action steps that they have in their life, they're fearful of it all, you
Totally.
know? And so it's good.
So I think fear, in the biggest way, is exactly what you're saying. Fear keeps us in the place
Yes.
we're in. Fear never promotes
No.
action. Fear never carries us
Right.
forward. It either always keeps us right where we're at or moves us backwards in a lot of, because the fear of taking action, inaction, if you believe in the concept of the slight edge, and I feel like you have to, it's like gravity. You're either moving forward or you're moving
Yeah.
backwards. You're not ever standing still. So if you're not taking action, you're actually moving backwards. So fear can force us backwards
Right.
in our life, right? Is that fair
Yeah,
to
and
say?
whenever you hear or feel fear, the feeling of fear does not mean stop. But so many times people feel that. Oh, well, I'm feeling afraid. Therefore, that's a legitimate enough reason for me to not do that thing. I'm afraid of screwing up my kids, not going to ever get pregnant or have a family. I'm afraid that if I do succeed at this
Sure.
business, it'll be something that like I don't actually really like or even want to try. Fear doesn't mean stop. Like if we're waiting to take action in an area of our life until we stop experiencing the feeling of fear, we will remain cemented exactly where we are, because the majority of the fear that we're facing is it's not real. There's the fears that keep us safe,
Right.
like don't go play out in the street, definitely don't, whatever. We've talked about the spiders in our bed and the snakes and the whatever. Like I'm not going to be just chilling with those things. Like come on. I don't know if I'll ever jump out of an airplane. I've heard it's an incredible rush, but I'm also like, I don't know. Should I even test God in that? So, so directly.
Sure.
But yeah,
Well, you mentioned fear keeping you safe. That's interesting because fearing spiders does not mean
keep
they
you
leave your
safe.
house.
Right, exactly.
Fearing,
That's true.
like it just, even utilizing fear in the real way of, and I do feel like that's a mechanism of like, well, I'm afraid people will judge me, so I'm not going to step out in this way. It's like, no, no, no. not stepping out doesn't mean people don't judge you. They still judge you.
Yes.
It's just not in the way you're expecting, or not in, not in the capacity that we're talking about maybe, but you can't avoid the thing. You don't stay safe from the thing just by using fear as a safety mechanism. Right.
And it's a good thing to remember too, that just because you're feeling fear doesn't mean that something has gone wrong. It just means that you're a human being. Yes, you're super normal. Like the only person that doesn't experience fear, like we were talking about that guy that did the free solo up the, where the way that he registers fear is so different, like he's not afraid of dying. And so there he goes, just climbing up a wall. If he dies, he dies. He's not afraid of it. But it's how we've been conditioned in our life, and it's a direct reflection of the way that we're thinking about something. That's all that fear is showing us. And so in that moment, then we can also say, oh, well, if fear is just a reflection of how I'm thinking about something, then I can think differently about this thing. In any of the things that I've talked about so far, I could think differently in any of those areas of my life. Those fears then lose their power because I'm choosing a different perspective. Obviously, this is totally the whole purpose of our talk today, is shifting our perspective around the things that we're fearful, seeing a different potential angle,
Sure. So audience participation question: how do you guys let fear control you? In what ways is this totally striking a chord with you? And in the spirit of my sister, she likes definitions. So I have the definition. Fear is the belief that something, here's the definition: an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. So it's an emotion, right? That should give you a lot of information.
It's an emotion, yeah.
It's an emotion, which means you can be afraid of something right now and then not afraid of the same thing another day. Do you know what I mean? Because it's an emotion, which is triggered by other things. And it's caused by the belief. Again, it's not caused by truth. It's not caused by actual evidence. It's caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. So to Tori's point, overcoming this is choosing your way out of fear, right? Choosing, do you want fear in the driver's seat of your life, right? And a lot of times, this was really freeing to me to recognize what is the opposite of fear. The opposite of fear, really, in my opinion, is faith, right? And I don't mean like faith, meaning like faith in God. I mean faith in a positive outcome as opposed to fear of a negative outcome, right? You believe in a positive outcome. So, and you were talking about earlier, a lot of fear shows up in what if statements. What if I drown if I get in the water? What if my kids get hit by that car? What if, right? Like those scenarios play out in a what if structure. And we were talking earlier about shifting that to, okay, let's confront that fear and say, even if I drown, I get sucked in the undertow, or even if, my kid has this or that happen to them, like what, sometimes even just walking through that scenario in that way can be really powerful, because you realize like, okay, I guess, let's confront that. What does that look like?
I had a good friend of mine who, one of her greatest fears was just being divorced. And not even necessarily losing her husband or being like removed from her husband, but just divorced, like the name of divorce. And then her husband committed an affair and then ended up leaving. And she's like, you know what? It's interesting now, having faced and gone on to the other side of really something that has held me captive my entire life. I'm realizing fear only receives the power that I give to it. And all this time, years worth of time, spent. And just the way that she's shifted and changed the way that she felt and thought about these things. It was now embracing a faith that there's a whole new world of opportunities beyond this fear for me. I've faced it. I've overcome it. I'm still breathing. Now what? And it's the faith in seeing, faith is the evidence of things that aren't seen yet. And it's interesting because fear is the same thing. We haven't seen it yet. We don't know that it's real. It's not actually happening 9 times out of 10. And when it is actually happening, usually the fear stops in the midst of, it's just we're afraid of it before.
Oh, that's so interesting. I want to jump ahead in our notes that you said that um, about jumping out of a plane, because you mentioned that as well.
Right.
And I looked into this. There was some evidence, and I found it really fascinating that the fear or the anxiety level, if you will, of the jumper, the person that's going to jump, it's actually at the highest point when they first get to the facility where they're going to be doing the jumping. It's not when they're jumping. Actually, it's measurable most when they're like beginning down the path of facing that fear, right?
Good.
And furthermore, the anxiety or fear goes down by 50% from the moment right before the jump to right after the jump. 50% from the moment before the jump to right after you're jumping. You're still falling, but your fear goes down 50% as you're falling. So it goes down when you actually do the thing you're fearing. And it says happiness responses go up 41% and peak right after landing on the ground, which I'm like, well, duh. Like, obviously that would be like the best.
I made it!
Is when you're safely on the other side.
Thank you! God.
You're safely on the other side, right? But I think that's funny. You feel most happy, euphoric, elated after you've actually walked through the thing you're afraid of. Like, this is all measurable in the human body. I think that's so funny. And we are such a culture that lives by instant gratification. Like, how funny is that? Like, if you want instant gratification, according to this, like, scientific measurements, facing your fear is the fastest way to get that instant gratification of getting over that fear, is going 50% of it's gone in taking the action. Isn't that hilarious?
I would even say some of it has to do, I think, with the decision made of facing the fear and doing it anyway. Because it doesn't mean that the fear completely went away before they jumped out of the plane or whatever. I mean, I still think
only 50%.
There's still 50% of max capacity fear happening. I also think that there is nothing meaningful in life that you could do that you couldn't, in one way or another, switch into a reason to be fearful. Marriage, family, business ownership, relationships, a faith journey. If you're on a faith journey, a health journey, I don't care what it is. You could be afraid of legitimately anything if you decide to be afraid of it. You can also break that fear and choose to feel the fear and press in and do it anyway. And that decision limits the power and the authority of fear so that you're able to use it as a fuel for your faith rather than a reason to stay where you are.
Totally. I mean, if you stay where you're at in anything, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, what is happening? Like, what are you doing? You're shrinking, you're moving backwards, right? But to give you guys a definition of faith also, which I love, complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So maybe that is a trust in God. Maybe that's a trust in the process. Maybe that's a trust in your mentors, your coaches. Maybe that's a trust in your instincts, whatever. Do you want, like, when you side by side those definitions, let me give you fear again, an unpleasant emotion caused by belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat, versus complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Do you want trust and confidence ruling your life, or do you want emotions and false belief ruling your life? I mean, really, what do you want in the driver's seat? So you have to choose your way out. Like Tori was saying, you have to face the fear. It's the only way through it. But you can choose. I think you're frozen, Tori. Saddest. Well, maybe she'll come back. You have to choose your way to the positive what if, the what if shift, so to speak, right? What if this bad thing happens? What if they judge me? What if I fail? Blah, blah, blah. To what if they think I'm awesome? What if I don't fail? What if I succeed at this, right? These are all hypothetical questions These are all scenarios that have not yet played out. So why do we give so much weight to the negative, the fear of, right? When, again, on the flip side, the positive, they're all what if scenarios as well. Tom in the background.
My phone was going to die. I don't know if I disappeared.
But yeah, I was just, you did freeze for a minute, but I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad I'm back.
But yeah, I was just talking about that what if shift of
Yes.
choosing and shifting and going, you know what? Because that's where you get your power from to step into that fear, is going to be your mindset. This is all a mindset issue, right? You're letting fear drive your mindset with all the negative what ifs. If you shift to, well, what if I succeed? What if this is awesome? What if this is the best thing I ever do for myself? That's going to empower you to take that step out of the airplane, so to speak, and right into your fear. And gosh, there's no way around it, right? Like there's no way around fear. It's not going to go away. As a matter of fact, the more you avoid it and ignore it, actually the more it grows, because you're actually giving it more power in that sense.
Yeah.
We have to step into it.
I would even say too that your ability to feel fear, I've been asked this so many different times, especially like throughout my business journey, where they're like, oh, you're just not afraid to like come up and ask somebody to join you in what you're doing, or selling a product or doing something in that regard. Everyone's being all loud in here. And I'm like, no. It is not that I don't feel fear. I 100% feel fear. It's just that I'm willing to feel fear. For the person on the other side, they're like, oh, you're not afraid of that? They're really essentially telling me, I'm not feeling fear. I'm actually so conditioned to avoid fear that I don't even know how to feel it, and then press into action anyways. So I actually say the people that are in action the most that you're witnessing in your life, they're not people who are absent of fear or have learned how to fear less. They've actually learned how to embrace and feel fear more than the other people who are avoiding the feeling of fear on a consistent basis. Eating it away.
Oh, that's good.
Instagramming it away, watching TV, things that don't at all move them out from where they are currently into a place of action. That is not, you're not feeling fear at that moment. You are avoiding the feeling of fear.
You're avoiding it. Oh, that is good freaking stuff right there. And that's courage, right? Is not the absence of fear, but doing it. And again, what do you want more in your life? You want fear to control you. You want to be courageous. You know, like I want people to say that she was so courageous. I don't want them to be like, she was, really timid.
Yeah. She played it safe.
She kind of just played it safe.
She played it safe.
Like, what is that? Oh, what a good convo. Hopefully this gave you guys some good perspective and tools, because I feel like fear is something that Whit and I have wanted to tackle, because it comes up in a lot of our other topics.
It does.
That fear is this mechanism of control in our lives, and it's only that way. Fear doesn't exist outside of us, right? So like it's only that way because of the weight that we're giving it. But I love what you said about avoiding it. That's so true. Be willing to feel it.
Even just taking a second.
Probably not as scary.
Even just taking a second for you to, set an alarm or something throughout your day. Because it's funny that if we don't practice awareness, then we could be avoiding fear all day long, or avoiding feelings, shame or scarcity, whatever the feeling is. But if you have an alarm that goes off throughout the day, or you have a moment that's set aside in the day, maybe you're a journaler or maybe whatever, to process through some of those feelings in order to put them on paper. The moment that they exit out from here and out of your mouth and into a friend, or, onto a sheet of paper or whatever, and you're able to read those things back and ask yourself, are these things that are true? Like, am I going to let, is this true? What are my possibilities out of this situation? How can I think differently about this? When we start switching on our brain and remind ourselves that we have the ability to choose what we are and we are not afraid of, your life starts experiencing such higher levels of freedom. Then you're liberated to feel the fear and decide what you're going to do with it.
Totally. That's so
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tori, for jumping on and sharing your perspective and
Of
wisdom
course. What a blessing.
on what do
What
we
do we
know?
know?
Because this is all about, we know a little bit, we don't know everything. We're sharing what we do know. We're learning
Yeah.
together, learning
That's
more.
right.
So make sure that you guys follow us on YouTube. You can search when the and sign wit on YouTube to find our channel. Of course, follow Wit and I on Instagram. Our title or our handles are at a.wendy.bird and at whitneyjanelle28. What is yours,
Just
Tori?
Tori Mayhine. Nice and simple. MAE.
At Tori Mayhine, M-A-E Hine. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. You guys, next week, I don't know what we're talking about because I didn't think that far ahead. That's Whitney's, she's in the details. I'm a winger. So we'll get back to you on that. But thank you guys. Thank you, Tori. I'll see you in the kitchen in
Sounds
a
great.
minute.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.